everyone. Again, I'm so excited. My name's Angela, raising remarkable teenagers. And as always, we are here for you parents because we know we want to empower you to raise highly effective teenagers. We want to help you to reach your parenting goals. We want you to have peaceful homes. And we also want you to have enriched relationships with your teenagers. So we are here to have a conversation. And as you can see, I've got a beautiful guest today. And I'm so excited because Lois has got a very special topic that's very close to my heart. And I'm just going to allow Louise to just speak to us about those strategies, the snippets, and the steps for raising remarkable teenagers. And we'll have a very interactive conversation, but I'll mostly allow Louise to talk in this because that's her speciality. And I'm so excited. You guys, let's go. Let's hear this. Let's give it up for you. Thank you so much, Louise, for coming. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you so much, Angela, for running such a fantastic program. I think it is so necessary, and I'm very grateful to be part of it.
Oh, thank you so much. So, do you just want to introduce yourself to my lovely uh, um, friends and followers? All of us here are parents that want to live fulfilled lives, and we just want our best for our teenagers. So we are always looking all over the world to find what's good, what can help me in this. Why? Why do we do that? Because we know it takes a village to raise a lovely kid. So let's hear from you.
Thank you. Well, you might be wondering about this picture in the background and why I've got such a picture, but it really is because I do what I do because I've been on a journey. I've been on a journey for many years, and it's important that teenagers understand this journey, that parents understand this journey that I've been on, because if they understand and can empathize with my journey, they can make a difference. And they can make a difference to how men and boys treat girls and women. So that is what my journey is about. So I help people move from a situation where they've experienced some terrible trauma, adversity, or challenge, and how they've got to overcome that and to grow. So they grow from victim to survivor to thriver and then to freedom. So that's what I do. I help people overcome their adversities and their challenges that have been forced upon them.
Wow.
And I do this because I was brutally attacked and raped, and it's just, and I've spent a lot of my time helping people survive and to overcome the trauma of that.
Mm,
But what I really want to do is I want to stop that happening in the first place.
mm,
And hence, I want to stop um, this kind of angst and violence and gender-based violence. And that's what I now work on. I work on working with teenagers mostly, and getting them to understand how they can grow into strong, healthy adults.
oh, that is so good because I can feel you. I can feel you that if we help our teenagers, because at that age, they're just beginning to start having those relationships, then they are able to identify what is right, what is abuse, what is control. And that way, our kids can end up having healthy relationships. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Absolutely. If they understand some basic rules, um, then and if they live by those and they have the courage and the strength to live by those those concepts and do those behaviors, conduct those good, solid behaviors, we can eradicate gender-based violence. Instead of teaching boys and men not to rape and not to hurt women, let's teach them to be brave.
Right, let's hear this. I love that. And so we want to teach them to be brave, right? So what does
Yeah.
that mean?
Okay, so, we go through life um, and we have behaviors that we learn from our parents, that we learn from our schools, from our friends, from our colleagues. And some of them are often toxic, and we refer to toxic masculinity. And if we can understand that toxic masculinity is not strength, and we learn to be brave instead of strong, then we can help this. So I've created an acronym called BRAVE. So the B stands for boundaries. It's so important first that we learn to understand what our own boundaries are. What do we like doing? What do we not like doing? We so often don't have full self-awareness. We don't understand. We don't go inside. We're always looking outside, what's happening around us, what our friends are doing. And we very seldom go inside and say, what are my boundaries? What do I like? What don't I like? What is who am I? So it starts with that self-awareness, understanding what you like, and then the people around you. If you're in a relationship, if you're dating your partner, what are their boundaries? Your boundaries of your parents, even, or boundaries of your children. Where are you not going to cross that line? And it's understanding the people around you, your friends, your colleagues, your associates, your teachers, your pupils, just understanding those boundaries. And that's what the B is all about.
Wow.
We then, okay, we then go on to the R, which is respect. And, it's such a simple word, it's such a simple concept, but people are not always respectful of each other's boundaries. Maybe because they don't know what the boundaries are, but secondly, they don't respect them. They don't honor them. They say, "Ah, that's just their belief, that's their system, it's not mine." So we've got to instill respect into our teenagers, into our even younger than teenagers. We've got to start right from babyhood. What is respect? With a little simple please and thank you. That is the first sign of respect. And I know it's difficult today because people get very confused. A man opens a door for a woman and she says, I can open my own door. So the next time he doesn't open the door for the woman and she says, what's wrong with you? Why don't you open my door?
Why are you not a gentleman?
So it gets hard. It gets hard for people to understand those boundaries, those expectations of other people. And then how do you respect it if you don't know what it is? So at the end of the day, it comes down to one big word: communication. If we just learn to communicate honestly and openly, what do you like, or how should I show my respect for you?
Yeah.
It'll cure everything.
Oh, brilliant. So you said the first one, the first of the brave is boundaries, and
Yes.
then the second is respect. Wow, I am loving this. I just want to hear more, right? Carry on.
Okay, then the A is ask. It's all about agreement. You ask, please, may I have a drink of water? And we don't always ask when we start getting into relationships. When you start as teenagers to start dating, are you asking, may I hold your hand? Can I kiss you on the cheek? Whatever it is, are we asking, or are we just taking advantage of the person because they do like me? That boy does like me, so I will let him touch me. So are we asking? And when we always say consent, no means no, but it's more than no means no. It is having an enthusiastic yes.
Uh-huh.
It's much more than a no, because sometimes people don't know how to say no, or they're not understood. or they're fearful to say no because they think someone will laugh at them or somebody will think they stiff and unfriendly, and so, or maybe they're just terribly afraid that they'll get hurt.
Mm.
So they don't say no, but they have not said yes.
Wow. So ask. Do you know, I actually never thought about it, how you said it. Like ask, can I hold your hand? And just not assume because we like each other, I can just put my hand on you. I had actually never thought of that. So can you imagine me as an adult not even thinking like that? What about teenagers actually? Wow.
But you know, it is difficult because if you are in a passionate moment and you're feeling romantic, you can break that mood by saying, hey, is it okay if we carry on? So it's a very fine line. You know, I can remember as a child going to the movies, as a teenager going to the movies, and the boy next to me takes my hand, and I want him to, but I'm also scared, so I'll pull away. And then if he respects me,
Yeah.
he will just wait and maybe he'll try a little bit later. And that's what it's important. I've shown him a no. It wasn't a verbal no. It was a physical no by pulling my hand away.
Mm.
And so it's also understanding the non-verbal language, looking at the signs, a little bit of stiffness, a frown, a tear. You know, there's so many signs saying, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not happy with it.
Absolutely.
And so
And
we've
that,
got to learn
yeah.
not only communication, but
Mm.
verbal communication, but all the non-verbal cues, the signs, the movements,
Mm.
and it also comes with emotional intelligence that we
Mm.
understand how the other person is feeling.
Absolutely. So I can see how these are stringing together from understanding boundaries and then respect, because someone who respects you, they will ask. I can see how they are stringing together. Let's carry on. This is so amazing.
Okay, then V is values. And you know, we teach values from childhood.
Mm.
In our schools, in our religious institutes, we teach values, the basic values, you know, don't kill, don't, you know, those kind of basic ones which are indoctrinated into us from children.
Mm.
But there are more values than that. And we each have our own set of personal values. And we don't know what they are half the time. We go through life and we do things, we're not quite sure why we do it or why we like it or why we don't like something. So one needs to really go through what are those things that are important to me.
Mm.
Yes, I don't want to hurt anybody, but maybe I value money, or maybe I just value friendship, or maybe I value good health, you know. So it's identifying those things that are important for you, and then those things that are important to those around you. And how do we get this is by communicating, asking, what do you like? What don't you like? You know,
Yes.
so it's more than boundaries. It goes into your deeper values. And if you understand your own values and you understand the values of the people around you, then you won't mix with the wrong people. You will mix with people, you will become friends with people who share similar values to what you share.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that is so important as well, is to just know who you are at a deep level
Mm.
and share that and share it. The other part of V is vulnerably.
Wow.
Share it openly and honestly. Don't be afraid. Be
Mm.
vulnerable. Expose your feelings and your emotions to those people around you.
Right. That it's so important when you say about values, because values, I see values coming in they're like frequencies. So when your value is at frequency base, you only attract the people on the same frequency, right? It's like radio waves, to be honest. The frequency, if you tune on to 96.5, the only music you hear is the music on 96.5. So the values that you hold strongly are going to make those people who are on the same level gravitate. And that's why I think it's important when you say about values, because sometimes, especially as parents, we can blame other kids for, oh, my, I don't like it. My son is hanging with the wrong group. No, your son, your daughter, my son, my daughter has these values. So that's why they are on the same frequency with those people, because the moment they shift to 98.8, they don't meet with those, they meet with those with 98.8. And you know, I had not thought about it like that, but you coined it, you coined it. And also, the other thing you said about vulnerability, I keep saying to parents, I keep saying to young people that vulnerability is strength. And they think, no, teenagers want to be stoic, they want to be all strong and everything. And then I tell them stories. I tell them stories of the many times that I have failed. I tell them stories of the many times that I have undergone things that are not nice. And you can see them leaning in and leaning in. And then at the end of it, I said to them, do you know the reason you are leaning in and wanting to know? Because I was being vulnerable. I was opening myself to you, which is human. And because all of us go through a lot of trouble and pressures in this life, you were able to identify with me at that human level. And that's when they get it. Actually, vulnerability is strength. It's actually not a weakness.
And I must say, I love your analogy on getting onto the same frequency. I think that's a really good way to explain it, especially to teenagers, get onto the same frequency, get onto the same channel as your buddies.
Absolutely. Or if you don't want what's happening there, move over to a different frequency. And the moment you move over, they drop off your way, because they're no longer there. You will meet them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is amazing. So let's move on to the E.
All right, so the E, I've got a couple of E's. The first one is equality. And I don't, we can talk forever on equality, but it's just very simple. Treat everybody the same, regardless of their age, their gender, their intelligence. Just treat everybody with love and respect. It's so
Mm,
important.
mm,
Treat everybody equally.
mm,
And then empathy. Empathy is really understanding and feeling how the other person is feeling,
mm,
putting yourself in their shoes.
mm,
So when you're in a relationship, when you start dating, how is that person feeling? So it goes back to all the emotional intelligence. It goes back to understanding their values and their boundaries, and 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 then being with them in their space and
mm,
treating them with that respect
mm,
to honor their space.
mm,
And then the third E is empowerment. How do we empower our teenagers to make the right decisions? How do we empower them to stop toxic masculinity? If
mm,
they see somebody in the playground saying or doing something nasty, sending what we call sexting, text with bad words or pictures, or if they're teasing a girl or teasing a boy for that matter, it doesn't really matter, it works both ways. How are we empowering our people around us to take action, to stop it, to disrupt that bad behavior,
that's right.
to disengage from that bad behavior? So
Mm,
empowering, making them make a difference. And it was so interesting. I did a workshop with some teenagers just recently, and it was all girls. There was one boy on the team, and he was fantastic. And he said, when we came to empowering, he said he's going to go and stop uh, his mates from sending bad texts. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. But what happens is he goes up to his mate and he says, don't do that, it's not right. And his mate says, oh, stop being a sissy.
Yeah, yeah.
And now he doesn't want to be a sissy and to be seen different to his friends. So he stops helping.
Oh,
And and what is so important that he was a leader because he was the first one to take that step, to see the vision, to take the action. But
mm,
what we need, leaders need followers. So he needs to bring one person along with him because often the followers, the rest of the followers, follow the follower. They don't always follow the leader.
that's right.
So we need the leader and then we need the first follower
That's
who's
right.
going to make it become a habit for everybody else.
Mm,
So it's so important that we encourage people when they take that first step, that we empower them to stay there and to find somebody to take along with them,
wow. Wow.
uh,
So
and
how
so
would you,
that we can get a movement going.
yeah, so how would you, for example, if a parent wants to encourage or empower their young person to, I mean, for example, the young boy that came to your workshop, and they are all hyped up, they are powered and everything. So how would a parent encourage that young person to keep up the momentum, to get people following him, to get people empowered? Because as you said, you've got to get, for things to happen, for change to happen, we've got to keep that momentum. So how would you, what would you advise to parents to do, or to encourage, empower their young people to do that?
There's so many things that we have to work with. It's important that our teenagers are bright. I think back to when I was a teenager. I don't think we had the same voice as the teenagers today. So we've got to give them that voice and allow them to have that open discussion with our parents and with their peers. So often parents don't allow their children to express because we weren't allowed to express. I was told children are seen and not heard.
Right.
And so we mustn't perpetuate that. We've got to allow them to express. The other thing we need to do so importantly is educate them, give them the knowledge around violence and what toxic masculinity is.
Mm,
Make them understand how it impacts on other people. So it's stories like mine. Mine was a very violent story, but there's many stories that are not so violent, but they're as harmful. That they understand the impact and that it could be their mother, their sister, their best friend. It
mm,
can happen to anybody. And if we really educate them as to the dangers and what this does to people long term, what it does to themselves, because later on in their lives, they're going to have flashbacks to the ugly things that they did.
absolutely.
And it's going to impact on their
Mm,
state of their mind
mm,
because the memory takes all of this in and it comes back and it'll haunt you later on, knowing that you did something unpleasant or said something unpleasant to somebody. So it's that education. It's so important that they know the impact of their behavior. And so it's about getting people to share their stories. You
mm,
know,
mm.
whatever the story is. And it doesn't, I'm talking mostly about gender based violence, but it could be anything. It could be just general schoolyard bullying. You
Yeah.
know, they verbal bullying and emotional bullying and cyberbullying. That can bounce back to them later in their lives, and they will have regrets. And so they need to understand the psyche and the science behind how this affects you. So it's talking, communicating, teaching, and just rewarding people when they do the right thing, thanking them, showing that gratitude for having made the right decision or said the right thing.
Mm. So what I've heard you say, which is very interesting, is about, it's something I speak with parents a lot about, perpetuating how we were parented. So It's being aware and actually giving our young people that voice, that giving them a safe space to speak, as I call it. I call it, if you want them to listen to you, you need to give them that a safe space to speak so that they can express themselves. And it's in that expressing themselves that they gain your trust, and then you are able then to teach them some of these ideas, isn't it?
Absolutely. It all goes down to communication at the end of the day, to be vulnerable, to share, to ask, allow people, I've got a teenager in the house here who came in the other day very upset, a 17-year-old girl. And she came in very upset that the boys have got this, I can't remember the name of it now, but they exclude girls who are ugly or something. They exclude them from sort of the inner circle. And she wasn't excluded, but it broke her heart that people around her had been excluded. And that is so harmful. And the boys don't realize they're having a bit of fun. Oh, which are the cool chicks, which are the girls we like. But they don't realize the harm they're doing to the ones that they exclude from that exercise. And so again, it's just that they understand whatever they do has these ramifications to
Yeah,
what they.
passion. And then actually in our research, in our psychological research, we find that especially when it comes to bullying, because the situation that you are describing is a sort of bullying, because when you exclude people because of whatever reason, whether you think they're not cute or they're not your color or what, it's a sort of bullying. But what we have observed over and over again is that even those who are observing the bullying taking place are affected worse, even, or some of them even worse than the actual young people who are being bullied. And this is why, because you are in the in group today, you are living in fear because you don't know what tomorrow they're going to choose to exclude you, because that's the nature of them, to exclude people. So even though you're in group today, and that's how gangs operate. So you even though you belong into the cool gang, to say so, you live in fear because you don't know whether tomorrow they're going to choose those who have eyebrows going like this, and then those who have afro hair, or those who have, those who have a mark on their neck. You don't know, so you're living in fear as well. And I can tell you that's why that girl was affected, because that's some of the effects. Those are some of the psychological and mental effects of bullying, of observing bullying, right? So we need to educate people. And then another thing I just wanted to mention about teaching young people this brave system that you brought up, it's which I believe it's quite powerful. It's a powerful acronym. It's quite loaded actually. Last week I was doing some research, and I found, especially for example in the UK, a charity called Family Lives found that they received 85,000 just during this lockdown, 85,000 calls on abuse, young people abusing their parents. Yeah. So we need to know that the kids can abuse us in our own homes. That was 85,000 young people abusing their parents. And what we found as well is that there are more boys abusing their mothers, teenagers abusing their mothers. So if we don't give them what I heard you say, we need to give them that safe space to speak, to create that relationship with them, so we can educate them on this, on having boundaries, on being respectful, on being on having those values, I'm looking at that agreement, being vulnerable, and equality and empathy and empowerment. This is what I think everyone can see. This brave, it's just, it's it's a very important concept for us to understand ourselves as parents, but also for teenagers to understand this, because the problem, even if it's not the boy or the girl, whoever, whether those relationships that don't have these boundaries, they don't have respect, they don't have agreement, people don't have values, and they're not empowered, they end up being toxic relationships. Yeah. And I don't think any of us as parents want our kids to go through that.
Yeah. And also, in addition, we must teach them to be brave in terms of being able to stand up for others who have been bullied or hurt, to be able to go into the schoolyard and stop somebody from teasing or bullying. You know, just we had a situation one day where in the morning there was roses spread out on a sidewalk with writing in red saying, "I watched you get raped last night. I was too scared to stop them, and I'm sorry." And I just thought, wow, this man or person who had witnessed this just didn't, you could have called the police. You know, you don't have to, if you're scared to get physically involved, you can call somebody. You don't have to just walk away as this person did. And look what happened. He walked away, or she, we don't know who it was, walked away and felt so bad that they came back the next day and put roses on the ground. So if you don't do anything, it's as harmful to your mental state as if you did it yourself. So you must learn to stop harassment of any form.
Absolutely, and it's just teaching this topic is very close to my heart, and maybe in another conversation we can talk about our personal experiences, and when we talk about the 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 one thing I find with especially teenagers, when I say to them, you need to speak, you need to tell someone. When you see it happening, even if it's not happening to you, you need to tell someone. And then they fear, and these are the exact words that I have heard over and over again. Oh, I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to be a snake. And I say to them, that's exactly what these bullies want you to think. They get into your head, they get into your head and they make you think that you're being a snitch. They use these words, you're a snitch, you're a snake, so that they can carry on. And it's in silence that this one of my favorite quotes was by Martin Luther when he said, evil. Evil continues to happen because good people keep quiet and refuse to say something. So when I tell the kids that, they're like, I say to them, you guys are good guys. But I tell you what, unless you speak, unless you tell, unless you get out of that mentality that you're a snitch, you're a snake, you're just as bad as the person that's doing it. Because by you refusing to speak, another kid is beaten up, another kid is bullied, some kids commit suicide because of all these things. Because some of this treatment can lead teenagers to do some really atrocious things. Some of them to the point of committing suicide. Yeah, and even when they don't commit suicide, we have shells of young people laden with so much mental health problems that they're not being as productive as they should be. So it is important for us to talk about this, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. I am so proud, and I think we should have you another time because I don't think we've even scraped the surface. I want to hear those stories because it's those stories that that you tell, the stories that you've seen that are going to inspire parents. Because sometimes we talk about, and that's I talk about statistics. Like for example, when I said 85,000 people, but the thing is, when you talk about statistics, sometimes people see it as just statistics. But when you mention the person, this you make it human, and they know if it's a person, it's a living, breathing person who has been affected, and that moves people's heart. It moves people's heart to take some sort of action. So I am so excited. I am so grateful for the information that you've shared. So what I'm going to ask you, what are the two things, two lovely snippets that you can leave our viewers with today? Something that they can take away with them, something that they can practice today to help in this situation.
Stand up and be counted. Stand up and communicate. Tell your story, ask someone's story, explain how you're feeling, communicate, communicate, communicate.
Oh, brilliant. So how, Louise, so how can people find you? Because I think it's important for people, all these viewers, to link up with you because you've got some amazing information, and including what I'm hearing from you, some programs that young people can undertake, some training that our teenagers can we can send our teenagers to you so that you take them through this, and then they can shift their minds, because that's what we are here for. So where can people find you?
Okay, walkingwithoutskin.com is my webpage, Walking Without Skin.
Yeah.
And I've got a Facebook page by the same name, Walking Without Skin. So that's the easiest way to find me. What I do, I do work with schools and groups and groups of parents if they're interested. I can do one-on-ones, but I think it's far more valuable when I work in it with a group. And we work through Brave. I've got a basic 8-week program where we get a workbook and we get some practical applications, and they come out at the end brave.
Oh, brilliant. I want that. This, do you know what? My vision always, because I've worked with young people for a long time, and I know what just when you give them ideas that change the world, young people are willing. They are actually good people, and they are willing because they know there is a purpose for which they were put in this world. So let's send let's send those kids to do these programs. Let's send them. So I'm so excited. Thank you guys. I am so happy today, and I feel absolutely blessed, and I hope that you have felt as blessed as I have. And I think we should be bringing Louise again at another time. And for today, we thank you so much for listening. And just as Louise said, stand up and be counted. Communicate, open up, let your young people communicate with you. And most importantly, send them to these programs, because our schools don't do that. Our schools don't do that. We need to send them to these programs and to these experts. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela, and you're doing remarkable work to create remarkable teenagers. Well done.
Thank you so much, Louise. And we will see you sometime soon.
Hope so. Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.